Hey you guys, this is Krueger86. Welcome to, well, not the 50 greatest horror films of all time, but some greatest horror films that Krueger86 actually likes the most. Now, despite all that, guys, I am one of the greatest slashers of all time. But despite that, guys, there's a lot of other horror films that surpass mine that have made it why Halloween is one of the greatest holidays of all time. I like Christmas, but it's always good. But despite all that, guys, let's take a look at my greatest, or my favoriteest, horror films of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, what better way to start a great horror legend right there is the great Michael Myers. Although I'm the best, but we'll judge that later. As you guys may have known, John Carpenter created one of the greatest Halloween films of all time, hence the title, Halloween, which you may have believed that over $100,000 was put into this film, and this became one of the greatest horror films back in 1978. Very interesting. A psychotic killer who started his killings when he was 6 years old, and then all of a sudden just comes back, and finally starts his revenge by wearing a mask, which looks like a very most evilest mask of all time. And bear in mind, guys, mine's actually real, although mine's burnt. Not badly burnt. But this guy created a trilogy, or actually no, a lot of Halloween films that came its way. Made it all the way up to 8. 8 films. And then the remake sucks. 2 remakes from Rob Zombie sucked, but wouldn't you lo and behold, guys, Jamie Lee Curtis, who started this film, actually her very first acting job on Halloween, is now coming back for Halloween after 30 years. Amazing. Amazing. Well, guys, there's more to come. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have heard the saying, "Here's Johnny" from the great Johnny Carson, but none better did it well than Jack Nicholson in Stanley Kubrick's film, The Shining. This guy was a writer, took his family up to the most haunted hotels of all time, the Stanley Hotel. And bear in mind, guys, it was haunted by ghosts of the past. Took control of him and was after his family with an axe. After scaring the hell out of his wife and his son, he was possessed. And after seeing his little boy, he kept saying, "Red Rum, Red Rum." Amazing. Bear in mind, guys, this man right here, Jack Nicholson, did that line over 20 times until he got the best one. Boy, for a man that keeps saying, "Here's Johnny," all the way up to there, this was the most haunting film of all time, and I bet you guys won't stand a chance against watching that. But hey, nobody stands a chance against me. You'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, as it says on the box of the videotape, the scariest movie of all time. The one that gave birth to every movie about evil. The Exorcist. This movie was one of the scariest films that was ever created. And being the first horror film to be nominated for Best Picture. Seeing a little girl be possessed by the devil, and only one person that could save the day, and that is The Exorcist. This movie was well found to be one of the scariest films, and when you go to see it in the theater, a lot of people left. A lot of people gave up, shaking their hands, being scared to death. This movie was great for one reason, and one reason only. No effects. No computer animation. None of that stuff. It looked real. This film is basically one of the best horror films of all time. But I digress. I'm always the best. You can't beat me. But there's a lot of other films that were the best besides this one. This is still the granddaddy of all horror films. The #1 on my list. But there's more. Alfred Hitchcock's classic suspense thriller, Psycho. Now, bear in mind, guys, Alfred Hitchcock almost lost a lot of money for doing this film, and also having it banned in a lot of countries, or so they say. But this film was one of the best. The reason why? Janet Leigh, this woman right here, visited a hotel with the one only person that watched it through the whole thing, Norman Bates. With the in the shower scene, you can see the horror that was inside that woman's screams, seeing a woman with a kitchen knife and stabbing her to death. But what makes this film very scary was that in real life, Janet Leigh was still terrified. And she was afraid of taking a shower because she always believed that there was somebody on the other side of that curtain to get her. So Alfred Hitchcock created one of the greatest suspense movies of all time, besides The Birds. What could be more terrifying than being attacked by birds? They fly around and just attack you like a fly on a crap. I got bad ones. Just bear in mind, guys, I'm doing my best on imitating Krueger, so I know I suck, but... or am I? Let's do this. Now, we've always seen these films behind the camera and how they're able to control what we see. But this movie is the one that started it all. Now you've seen Paranormal Activity, which scared the hell out of me. But the one that started it all was the Blair Witch Project. Seeing three hikers hiking in the woods, trying to find out about this legend about the Blair Witch. But they got lost, but somebody was following them. One by one, they were scared. So scared that they feared that they would never return. And wouldn't you know it, guys, the only thing that returned was the film. So, guys, this movie was also one of the greatest horror films back in the late 90s. And this film is the one that started it all behind the camera. Speaking behind the camera, the movie that I was talking to you about was actually Paranormal Activity. Which, in layman's terms, guys, this movie scared the hell out of me when I first watched it. Wow. It only based on a couple, a boyfriend and a girlfriend who lived in a house. But little did they know, they were not alone. An evil entity, or a demonic spirit, was after the girl. The boyfriend tried everything to try to get in contact. An Ouija board, having a psychic, and also communicating with it, which was a very bad idea. It got so aggressive, he was gone. But the girl was missing. So that kind of tells you guys something. That she was possessed. Bear in mind, guys, this movie was actually one of the most low-budget films of all time. It only cost the director actually $60,000, around $60,000 to make this film. And it made over $100 million. So that's kind of a big thing right there. But enough of that. There's more to come. I cannot believe my eyes. They made a movie about me? Of course they are. Why wouldn't they? I'm the best. Always. Well, guys, Nightmare on Elm Street was one of Wes Craven's greatest films that he's ever created. Without him, we wouldn't have Freddy Krueger. Also, Ghostface from Scream. A lot of horror films that he's ever created, and Freddy Krueger was one of the most famous of all time. Nightmare on Elm Street has made over about a lot of films. I would say up to 10 to 11. But hey, 11 times the fun. The remake sucked, but it scared me. It scared me a lot. Krueger86's was really scared. But for Krueger, that was an okay job. But if I was really there, I would show them what fear really is. And that's why I wear these. My weapon of choice. Nightmare on Elm Street was one of the best films. A great scary film to watch when Halloween comes. But there's more to come. Always. Always scary films all the time. That makes it so good. That's what Halloween's about. But bear in mind, guys, what if there was a horror film that was actually true? Like this one, The Conjuring. A true story based on the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators who has investigated over 1,000 cases. One involved this family. They bought a house. But there was a lot of stuff there that was already there. But one thing that made it interesting was there was an evil spirit that was inside that house, took control of the mom. And a lot of weird things have happened. The dog died. Birds were swarming around the house. And she tried to leave, but she couldn't get out. So it was up to Ed and Lorraine Warren. This case was so malevolent, they've never talked about it. Until now. These horror films were the best. Conjuring 2 was really good too, but you cannot beat the original Conjuring. The first Conjuring, this film, was always the best. But hey guys, horror films can be anywhere, or even at sea. Would it be scary to be out in the ocean and also be attacked by a shark? A giant shark. This is where Jaws came into the picture. This film was also one of the scariest, created by Steven Spielberg himself, the man who created E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and also, with a little help from George Lucas, the Indiana Jones films. But Jaws was the one film which was the #1 bestseller book. Having a shark just attack people for no reason. And with one of the greatest movie lines of all time, which was improvised, "We're going to need a bigger boat." So what's scary about being attacked by a spirit? Being attacked by a sea animal. It's actually a fish, but you know what I mean. You get my drift. Lo and behold, guys, the one film, and also Krueger86's very first horror film I've ever watched in my life, the one film that paid tribute to the person who gave inspiration, the Exorcist, the director, gave this new director a new idea of horror, the Omen. You know what's scary about the devil? Having a son, who is this boy, who is the incarnation of the devil. Very scary things have happened. A lot of people have been dying. And he had a birthmark on his head of the number 666. Even the same thing from a juggernaut, so bear in mind on that. It's really scary how this person was able to create one of the most scariest films of all time. And also, having the scariest kid to do this. What better way to scare the audience is by having a boy who was the devil itself. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is a tribute to one of the greatest horror directors of all time, George Romero. Without him, he created one of the most classic horror films of all time, Night of the Living Dead, where dead people would rise up and start eating people. But also on the radio, when there's no room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. Scary as it is, what makes it more worse is being trapped in a house where they all come and try to get you. And what's worse about being trapped inside a house? Being around people who fight for themselves and not for everyone else. Scary as it is, but without this man, we wouldn't have zombies. We wouldn't have The Walking Dead. Great show, by the way. And the greatest tribute for him was bringing us zombies. Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this person's channel for more reactions and more gameplay. Please, guys, do that, please. And also, don't forget to stay positive, and also, be sure to look under your bed, because I'll be there. I know it's a little creepy, but you know what I mean. Stay positive, guys.